Imagine a man hurling his rage at you, every word a desperate attempt to pull you into his storm. Now imagine you offer no storm in return. You offer nothing. You become a wall of absolute stillness. In that void, his entire reality begins to fracture. This is not about control over others. It is about a sovereignty so complete it unnerves the world. Centuries ago, a Florentine strategist understood this invisible art, the power of the uninterpretable man. Most men are open books, their pages turned by every gust of emotion from those around them. A rude comment flips to a chapter of anger. A withheld compliment writes a passage of doubt. They believe they are authors, but they are merely scribes, transcribing the chaos of the outside world onto their own blank pages. But there is another kind of man. One who has closed the book. His cover is blank. When you master this, you cease to be a participant in their games. You become the referee or the rule book itself. You radiate a quiet danger, not the danger of violence but the terror of the unfathomable. Today, we dissect this psychological edge. We will explore the strategic void, the architecture of composure that turns silence into your most formidable instrument. This path is not about morality. It is about operational mastery. For those content with warmth and predictability, turn back. What we discuss is forged in a colder, clearer fire. To grasp its power, you must first see the machinery of the common mind. We are social creatures, evolutionarily addicted to feedback. Our ancestors needed the tribe's cues to survive. To be ignored was to die. This desperate need for a signal, a reaction, is buried in our wiring. Every interaction is a silent dance. I step forward, you step back. I push, you push back. This rhythm is comfortable. It makes the world feel predictable, safe. But what happens when the dance stops? What happens when you are pushed and you do not push back? You do not step forward, you simply are. You have severed the circuit. You have denied their psyche the completion it craves. Nature abhors this vacuum, and into that silent space rush their own insecurities, their own fears. Is he judging me? Does he know something I do? Why does this not matter to him? The Florentine observer saw this play out in courts of intrigue. The princes who were volatile, whose passions were public knowledge, were easily manipulated and ultimately destroyed. Their loves and hatreds were levers for their enemies, but those who were inscrutable, who mastered the arts of appearance, they survived. You cannot lay a trap for a shadow. You cannot predict the movement of a mist. This is the cornerstone. Predictability is a vulnerability. Look at your own life. How often have you rushed to explain, to justify, to clarify? Your superior questions a decision and your pulse quickens. You string together excuses, revealing your anxiety, your need for their approval. You are showing your hand. A sovereign man does not need to be understood. He needs only to be effective. Explanation is a position of negotiation. Silent observation is a position of judgment. The skill that unnerves other men is the tolerance for unresolved tension. Most feel it crawling on their skin. An awkward pause hangs, and they must shatter it with a joke, a concession, a nervous gesture. The formidable man breathes in that tension. He lets it thicken the air. He knows that in the quiet, people confess their weaknesses without uttering a word. This is the difference between a reactive creature and a calculating one. A small dog yaps at every passing car, every rustling leaf. It is a prisoner of its environment. A mountain does not yap. It observes millennia. It changes only through deliberate seismic will, which commands more respect. You must mute the internal yapping, the part that needs the last word, the part that needs to be perceived as smart. Let them believe you are slow. Let them assume you are simple. Let them construct their entire narrative about you on a foundation of guesswork. While they are busy writing your story, you are busy studying theirs. You are mapping their levers. We must now engineer this mindset. In systems, there is a principle known as the closed system. Input enters. Output may or may not emerge. The internal process is concealed. You must become a closed system. Right now, most men are transparent engines. We see the fuel of insult go in, watch the pistons of ego fire, and hear the exhaust of outburst. It is a predictable, feeble display. When you become a closed system, you alter the fundamental physics of power. Picture this. You are in a discussion. A peer attempts a subtle dismissal of your idea. The transparent man reacts. He bristles. He rebuts. He glances around seeking allies. He has already lost, playing on the attacker's chosen field. The closed system registers the input. The insult enters. Then stillness. Perhaps you tilt your head slightly. Perhaps you simply nod and return your gaze to your notes, continuing your original point as if the interruption was static. What occurred? A spear was thrown and it passed through empty space, hitting nothing. Now the thrower is disoriented. Did he not hear? Was it beneath his notice? Is he planning a response I cannot see? You have introduced doubt, a psychological weapon, without a single act of aggression. This requires a discipline that may feel detached. You must learn to witness your own emotions as a scientist witnesses a reaction in a petri dish. You feel the heat of irritation. Acknowledge it. I am feeling irritation. Then choose. Do not let it travel to your expression or your tone. There exists a space, a sliver of time between the event and your reply. Within that space lies your autonomy. Most men have no space. They are fused to the stimulus. Your task is to widen that gap. Freedom is born in the pause between what you feel and what you do. Have you noticed that elevated individuals often possess a deliberate slowness? They speak with measured pace. They move with intention. Lower status energy is frantic, quick speech, darting eyes, a vibration of need. They fear their time is being taken. Deliberate slowness signals ownership of time. It broadcasts dominion. Consider a proposal. A number is presented. An immediate response smells of eagerness, of need. A silence of 4, 5, 6 seconds, however, places a weight upon the offer itself. They may just revise it downward to fill the unbearable silence. Your void does the negotiating for you. Why does this unnerve men? Because it mirrors the unknown. We are wired to fear what we cannot see. A silent man is an unlit hallway. Is he harmless? Is he hostile? The mind cannot tolerate the question, so it often resolves it by assuming capability. We attribute strength to the quiet, intelligence to the reserved. Perception becomes his armor. The strategist knew, everyone sees the surface you present. Very few ever touch the depths beneath. If your surface is undisturbed, you are undisturbed in the theater of the world, and that belief alone becomes a deterrent. Now an objection forms. Is this not emotional repression? Will this not cause an internal collapse? No, repression is denial, a form of fear. What we discuss is containment. Think of a forge. Inside there is infernal heat, molten metal, transformative power. But the walls of the forge are thick, containing and directing that energy. The outside is solid, functional, calm. You are not becoming numb. You are becoming a forge. You feel the intensity. The betrayal, the provocation, the desire to respond, all of it burns within. But you have constructed an inner sanctum of purpose and logic. Nothing exits that sanctum without your command. When an impulse demands to be voiced, the gatekeeper asks one question: does this serve my strategic objective? If no, the energy is contained, transmuted into fuel for your resolve. If yes, it is released with precision as a tool, not an outburst. The strategist did not advocate for the absence of anger. He advocated for its weaponization. A sudden, controlled display of intensity can recalibrate a situation. But the key is control. You are not overcome. You are deploying a calculated effect. You are the director of your own internal play. This terrifies the reactive man because he is, at his core, a passenger in his own life. When he encounters a driver, he feels a profound inadequacy. He will label you cold, arrogant, inhuman. Let him. These are the excuses of the undisciplined, designed to reframe your strength as a flaw so they can avoid confronting their own lack of it. It is easier to call a focused man obsessed than to admit your own distraction. It is easier to call a contained man heartless than to face your own emotional spillage. The goal is a strategic indifference to these labels. It is more sustainable to command cautious respect than to seek fondness. Why? Because affection is granted by others and can be withdrawn. Respect, tinged with a hint of uncertainty, is maintained by your own consistency and inscrutability. But understand this respect. We do not speak of petty tyranny or intimidation. We speak of the respect for a deep forest. It is beautiful, serene. But you move through it with awareness, knowing its depths are vast and its rules are its own. This is a formidable piece. To build this inner sanctum, you must do the foundational work. You must excavate your triggers. Why did that remark land with such force? Because it touched a buried insecurity. Why did that dismissal sting? Because it hooked a need for external validation. You must disarm these internal tripwires. A trigger is a remote control someone else can push to dictate your state. You must find the wires and cut them. When you walk through life with no accessible buttons, you are functionally invincible. People will press. They will prod. And when the machine does not react, they will look at you with a mixture of awe and dread, realizing they possess no leverage. We have discussed momentary silence. Now we must consider the silence of absence. The strategist knew that overfamiliarity erodes power. Constant availability has no value. Immediate replies suggest subordination. Ever present at the gathering, you become part of the scenery. The advanced skill is the capacity to withdraw without a narrative. We live in a culture that craves closure. Everyone wants the final word, the explaining text, the resolved conflict. Why? Closure allows them to file the event away to feel settled. The strategically formidable man denies this closure. He does not block. He does not argue his exit. He simply becomes less present. His communications grow brief, then cease. This creates an open loop in the other mind. The brain obsesses over unfinished patterns. An unresolved dynamic is a cognitive itch that cannot be scratched. What happened? Is he returning? What did I miscalculate? By withholding closure, you occupy permanent space in their mental landscape. You become a ghost in their attic. In negotiation, this is pure leverage. Terms are unsatisfactory. The novice debates, pleads, counteroffers. The strategist closes his notebook, offers a polite smile, and says, "This does not align for me," and departs. He creates a void. The other party is left holding an unfulfilled transaction they must now pursue. And the one who chases is in the weaker position. Wait, perhaps we can reconsider. You have won without contesting. In dynamics of attraction, this is the ultimate sieve. A test of need is presented. Most men lean in, anxious, seeking reassurance. The sovereign man mirrors the distance, then adds to it. He signals, "My world is complete with or without you." That distinction between desire and need is palpable. Need is a scent of depletion. Autonomy is a magnetic force. This skill rests on a comfort with potential loss. You must be willing to lose the deal, the connection, the approval. True power is the ability to walk away and mean it. If you cannot walk away, you are negotiating from a prison. If you can, you are negotiating from a fortress. Consider the individuals you truly regard. Do they over-explain? Do they plead for understanding? No, they possess a gravitational pull. They are centered in their own universe. You may orbit them, but if you depart, their world remains intact. This is abundance weaponized. It states silently, "My purpose outweighs your opinion." Strategic absence amplifies your value. Scarcity creates worth. Be the rare element, not the abundant one. Let your presence be felt more in its lack. In an era of compulsive sharing, the man who shares nothing becomes the most scrutinized. They will parse your few words for meaning. You are no longer consuming attention, you are the scarce resource it seeks. Now we confront the true adversary. It is not the provocateur, the rival, or the critic. The adversary is your own ego. Your ego despises this entire framework. It wants to retort. It wants recognition. It wants to be seen as righteous. The strategist would tell you that righteousness is a medal for the defeated. Do you wish to be correct or do you wish to be victorious? Often you cannot have both. To master this, you must depose your ego. You must be willing to appear mistaken in order to secure the real objective. History tells of a commander publicly insulted by a junior officer. The officer goaded him, seeking a duel. The commander simply looked at him, turned, and walked to his tent. His aides were mortified. "Sir, your honor," the commander replied, "if a child throws a stone at a cliff, does the cliff throw one back?" The commander had nothing to prove. His ego was a retired advisor. Only his objective remained. By engaging, he would have descended to the challenger's level. By walking away, he remained the commander. This is the most difficult practice, because an insult feels like an existential threat. It is only a threat to your self-image. If you are anchored in a reality of your own construction, an insult is merely data, wind against stone. It only destabilizes you if you harbor a secret belief that it might be true. The man who is terrified of appearing weak is the one who postures with strength. The man who knows his own capacity has no need for the performance. This is the architect's mindset. You are playing a different game. They are playing for applause. You are playing for an outcome. If silence yields the outcome, be silent. If agreement yields it, agree. If a theatrical display yields it, perform. But never act because you were triggered. Act because you chose to. The Florentine was called sinister because he separated sentiment from strategy. He was not sinister, he was analytical. He viewed human dynamics as an engineer views a system. If it malfunctions, you do not plead with it. You adjust components. The people around you are the system. Your emotions are the diagnostic readings. You are the engineer. Do not scream at the machinery. Optimize it. When you adopt this analytical detachment, people sense it. They sense you are operating on a different wavelength, not by the rules of social nicety, but by the principles of cause and effect, leverage and reality. And reality is terrifying to those sustained by illusion. So, what is the ultimate aim? To become a statue? A phantom? No. To become an architect. When you cease reacting to the world, you gain the capacity to design it. You initiate action and the world becomes the reactor. You set the frequency. You become the calm center. Turbulence, arguments, market swings, personal dramas swirls around you. And you in the eye are unmoved, assessing, building. This skill, the strategic void, the contained response, is the bedrock of any consequential action. You cannot steer a ship if you are seasick from every wave. You cannot build a legacy if a single criticism can derail your focus. It demands training. Tomorrow you will be tested. A driver will be aggressive. A colleague will be dismissive. An obligation will be forgotten. Your old wiring will scream for a reaction. Intercept it. Pause. Widen the gap. Observe the rising feeling. Greet it. And then consciously select stillness. Watch the other person. Witness their confusion, their discomfort, and feel the quiet authority that flows from the knowledge that you hold the leash. Most men are dragged by their impulses. You hold it calmly. This is the path of the sovereign. It feels solitary at first because you are stepping away from the noisy, reactive herd. The herd is loud and warm. The path of the sovereign is quiet and clear, but the herd is led. The sovereign leads. The skill that unnerves other men is this: the unwavering choice to be moved only by your own will. It is the deepest form of liberty, and once you know its taste, you will never again volunteer to wear another's chains. If this has shifted your perspective, understand, we have only surfaced the concept. The public forum allows only so much. There are deeper strata of applied psychology, of tactical inner work that cannot be fully detailed here. The most potent frameworks are often kept from the mainstream, reserved for those who actively choose to see the machinery. The system prefers participants, not architects. If you are still listening, your focus is that of a builder, not a bystander. For more, ensure you are subscribed to Winds of Thought. But to go further, to access the maps for the terrain we can only hint at publicly, the deeper work awaits those who seek it. Most will not. They prefer the comfortable narrative. That is the point. Real understanding is a territory for the few. The question is, do you belong there? The choice, as always, is yours.